episode 65 of Coffee and Co. Read, your source for all things literary, with Catherine.
And Kristen, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club where we take one book a month and dive into all the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, Kristen.
So, our Would You Rather this week is so hard. We are going to discuss, would you rather have every book you read be a cliffhanger end, or would you rather it be a heartbreaking end? So, what do you rather?
This is obviously such a hard one. You just said that. But half the time the cliffhanger ends are heartbreaking. So, like, would the cliffhangers not be heartbreaking anymore? And how? I don't understand. What's the difference? I also, like, would every series just be going indefinitely if every book is going to have a cliffhanger? You know, I don't understand the logistics of this world where this is possible. So, but I'd probably have to choose cliffhanger because heartbreaking endings are heartbreaking.
But you like that sometimes.
I do sometimes, but I don't want every single book I read to be, like, devastating and hurt. So, I guess that's my answer.
I would also go with the cliffhanger ending, but that's obviously because I hate heartbreaking endings. Mm-hmm. I hate them so much. I don't want them in my life. So if I could pick any other ending other than a sad, heartbreaking one, I would. So obviously I'm going to pick cliffhanger every time. And at least with a cliffhanger ending, I can imagine what the ending could be.
Yeah, with, like, happiness instead of heartbreak. Like, if it's heartbreaking, I'm assuming someone's gonna die. And there's no happy ending after that.
Or maybe they just break up and don't get back together.
Yeah, that's true.
But, like, I guess my thing, though, is, so if the only books I can read either have a cliffhanger or a heartbreaking ending, does that mean I could read, like, a fanfic to get to the ending? Like, if something ends on a cliffhanger, could I read a fanfic to give it an ending? Because that's technically not a novel.
Yeah, are all fanfics the same? Yeah, it's so in this universe where there's only cliffhangers and heartbreaking endings. Have we just never had any other kind of book? I don't understand the logistics of this world.
No,
it's just like you're choosing this or this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is not a alternate universe scenario. I feel like this is our current world, and we have the choice of either exclusively cliffhanger books or exclusively heartbreaking books.
So I guess the issue with exclusively cliffhanger books is I think you would never read the last book in a series. So that would be sad.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the Throne of Glass series. Like, that is one of the bigger cliffhangers that I've ever had to deal with in my life, was the end of Empire of Storms.
Yes.
And then I had to wait the 2 years before Kingdom of Ash came out, and I wanted to pull my hair out. But you wouldn't even be able to read Kingdom of Ash because it isn't a cliffhanger.
Right.
And I guess her newest book, too, is technically a cliffhanger, but I just don't care about the characters as much, which is sad. But, you know, it is what it is.
I feel like, though, out of every series she's written, correct me if I'm wrong now, maybe people out there disagree, but it seems to me that people are the least invested in Crescent City.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like the running, like, people are getting into SJM through Crescent City just because it is the one being currently written.
Yeah.
But it seems like it is the one, like, once people read the other two series she's got, I feel like Bryce and Hunt are like, so many people don't even like them together.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like you can't argue with Reese and Farah, and you can't argue with
our other couple.
We haven't gotten to that book yet, so we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, I forget how I even got on the topic of Crescent City to begin with.
Because the
oh right, the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger. Oh God. So I don't know. Like, I feel like we gotta take it by individual books, less so series.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
So, if we're taking Throne of Glass as an example, and yeah, Empire of Storms, huge cliffhanger at the end. However, the first book, Throne of Glass, not so much of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's
you
also
wouldn't
not
even
heartbreaking. It's neither. So you just can't read any other type of book.
You can't read it.
Okay.
No. So, Throne of Glass isn't even in our conversation now. We can't even read any of them.
Well, especially since Empire of Storms is a cliffhanger and heartbreaking at the end. You can't read it anyway. So, true.
Yeah.
I would have to stick with cliffhanger because I think I would stop reading. Because sometimes you just are in a mood for, like,
yeah,
a happy
something
book.
Happy. Yeah. Agreed. Give me a cliffhanger or give me nothing.
But not actually.
Not
Only
actually.
In this hypothetical universe / question.
I want more out of my life. Well, yeah. I guess maybe that wasn't as hard as we thought it was going to be.
I guess not.
Okay. Man, we're getting good.
Yeah, we've been pretty in sync lately.
But, like, that's not a surprise either.
No.
Okay, so we're going to get into it. Just a heads up. We're not a spoiler-free zone. And things could get saucy. So it's our last week with Neon Gods.
What?
I can't believe how fast it went.
I know, me too. We said that about last month's book too, but...
We did. I feel like I say it about all, like, because we go, some books we get 4 weeks with, some we get 5 weeks with.
Mm-hmm.
So I find the books that we get 4 weeks with, I find they always go real fast.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, last week, we see a blossoming, I guess, of the relationship between Hades and Persephone. They have some sexy times, a lot of sexy times. They start to wish that their lives could be different so that they could be together. They do some public appearances, both in the lower city, sort of just as in a relaxed, casual sort of relationshipy kind of way. And then again in the sex dungeon as like sexual partners sort of a way on the throne room in the shadows. But they're starting to catch the feels for each other. So much so that Persephone tries to get Hades to adopt a dog, and he ends up getting 3.
This is just wild. You can't just get 3 dogs.
So the end of last week, we had them in the sex dungeon. they were supposed to go up on the stage and do a scene, but Persephone just wasn't ready. So she instead gets down on her knees at the throne that he has and gives him a good old BJ. And he realizes that she is not just beautiful, she is a goddess, so she deserves to be worshipped too. So after he comes, he sits her on the throne and gets on his knees to presumably return the favor. So we are starting with chapters 24, going all the way to the epilogue. So we're in Persephone's POV to start off this week, and she is very surprised at Hades, like, at her feet, we'll say. Because from the outwards appearances, it looks like he is paying tribute to her and submitting to her. And he is normally the dominant type. So she finds it very, I want to say strange, like, not in a bad way, but, like, she's just like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like, that he is okay to portray to everyone that he is being submissive to me.
Yeah. It is out of character, it seems like.
But, like, it does, but it also doesn't. Because we haven't seen him with other partners, and he hasn't talked really about his relationship with other partners.
That's true.
Right? So, like, in my mind, to me, this is not out of character for him. Of course he's going to pleasure a woman. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think the, like, getting on your knees in public is the part that is really...
Maybe.
The big deal.
But again, we haven't seen that side of him with other people besides Persephone.
But she is different.
Mm-hmm. She's special.
She is.
So everybody is sort of watching them at this point. And it's getting her really turned on. It doesn't do it for me, I don't think.
No?
I don't think so.
Fair.
But personal preference. So he spreads her legs real wide. Like, hikes one up over the arm of, like, I'm talking wide here.
It's a big throne. He's a big man.
Yeah, like, her legs are parted, like the Red Sea.
No.
Her legs are just parted real wide. So he starts to lick her out, and she looks and sees everyone watching. So that makes her real turned on. So he starts, like, pushing her. She starts pushing his head into her and asks him to make her come. Obviously he does. So he puts 2 fingers inside of her and makes her come. So that's nice. So they've both come now in public. And he is still so wild with need. He just takes her hand and stands her up and tells the audience that when they speak of what they saw tonight, to tell the truth. That Persephone is his, but he is also hers. Because the whole point, they know that everyone's going to go and gossip. Mm-hmm. That's the point. But he wants everyone to obviously tell the truth. Like, don't lie and say that, like, he, took advantage of her. Like, because he didn't.
Yeah.
And Persephone's really surprised because they never spoke about declaring it as a mutual arrangement to everyone. Like, it was more of just him possessing her so that Zeus could not possess her.
Yeah, and kind of to, like, put that possession in Zeus's face.
Yeah. So the fact that he is sort of claiming that he also belongs to her, like their relationship is a mutual agreement, is shocking to her, but in a good way. Mm-hmm. And she realizes that what they've got going on for them is not just something to provoke Zeus anymore. Like, their relationship is not solely for that purpose.
Yeah.
So they leave, and Persephone can sort of tell that there's something wrong. And he's sort of, I wish I could explain it. Like, he's rambly and, like, worked up. And he's sort of just, like, he's talking and walking and rambling and, like, pulling her behind him to their room. And he says that, like, no one sees him but her. And, like, I kind of want to say obviously, because you don't let anyone in.
Yeah. Very true.
So, there's that. But then he also says that, like, what they have is the most honest thing he's ever had, and that it means something to him. Can you imagine, like, getting into a relationship with a 30-year-old and them being like, I've never been in a relationship before?
Yeah. No.
I'd be like, why not? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. This doesn't make sense. I don't. And he's like mid-30s or something. He's not just 30.
I would think, yeah, like early 30s, I think, is what I was.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
Bit sus, sir.
It is, yeah. And it's just like, I appreciate it. Like, we're finally having a little bit of the conversation, right? We're always yelling at them, just have a conversation.
That's true. We can't complain now that we're getting a conversation.
Like, so the fact that he is being honest and saying, like, you're a super important part of my life, I think it's important for him to say, and I wish that it was enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this should be enough for her to sort of start maybe like, well, maybe I don't have to leave Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do.
It doesn't, though. Like, she's still like, okay, I'm still gonna leave, though.
Yeah, it doesn't even, like, she doesn't even think of it. She's not like, no. Oh, maybe I could stay. Like, it doesn't even cross her mind, which just seems wild.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand. Like, where in the rule book does it say she has to leave?
Yeah.
Plans change all the time. So, like, if she is really in love with him, and she is in love with his house, and in love with his people, and in love with his city, what is to stop her from staying?
Yeah.
Besides herself.
Well, I guess that's it.
It just bothers me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's like one of those things of, oh, I have to do it just because.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah, and, like, I understand her wanting to get away, but hasn't she decided, exactly, hasn't she just, like, realized that this is so different and this is exactly what she's kind of looking for? Like, she's starting to realize that the lower city is awesome and it could maybe be what she wants. And she's also realized that her running away is kind of, like, a bit selfish and she's not thinking about her sisters at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like the lower city is, like, the perfect compromise to her wanting to leave and her also not wanting to, like, screw over her sisters. So, like, getting Hades as a part of that is almost just a cherry. He's a cherry.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he tells her, I already said that their relationship means something to him, and she says, like, yeah, it means something to me too. But, like, he's still upset. He's still agitated. Mm-hmm. So they go into their room, and he, like, sits down, and she goes between his legs and just cuddles him. And then he lets it out and admits that, like, because she couldn't figure out what was wrong. Like, why is he upset? I don't understand. And he finally lets it out very quietly and very sort of, like, meekly. But he says that it's gonna hurt when you leave. And she sort of, like, it's like it hits her at that moment. She doesn't realize how much it is gonna hurt her to leave. Like, she's gonna miss him. But, like, they still have 2 months left. They're only 1/3 of the way through their time. Geez, next month, maybe they'll be sick of each other.
Exactly. It's literally been like 2 weeks that they've known each other. Not really. I know it's been a month. But it just feels like they've like just fallen in love very, very quickly.
Yeah. Well, like, they fell in love with each other after, like, 1 week.
Yeah.
They're still in the honeymoon phase.
Right? I just am like, why don't you spend the next month together and half of the third month together, and then maybe you could have a conversation about what to do next. Like I said, I think I said it last week. She could go away for a little while and then come back. But she's 24. She's just a baby.
Yeah. Anyway, so he promises her that he's not going to ask her to stay because he knows that she needs to leave. Like, he understands why it's important for her to leave. So he literally tells her, I'm not going to ask you to stay, even though I want to. And
that's asking her to stay, though. A little bit.
I want you to stay, but I'm not going to ask.
Didn't you just ask?
Yeah. So she thinks like she should be happy that he's not asking her to stay, but she's not.
But he's also asking her to stay.
He kind of
is she upset because he's not asking her to stay? Because that would be the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Yes. She's upset he's not asking her to stay. I feel like, though, she's upset because she knows if he asked, she would say yes.
Yeah. So maybe you should just stay.
Right? If, like, what would happen, do you think, if she just didn't leave? Like, at the 3-month mark, he'd be like, oh my god, this is the best time of my life. I'm going to miss you so much. Goodbye. And she's like, oh, no.
No, I live here now.
Yeah.
Too late. I think that's what would have happened if the book went in a different direction.
Yeah. Anyway, so she says she thinks to herself that she wants the memory of him imprinted on her soul. So she asks him to kiss her. And she does. Or he does, sorry. And it's really rough, and, like, they can't stop kissing, and they kick out of their clothes while still kissing. Like, I don't even know how you do that. You must, like, have to rip your shirts off. Because if they're not button-up, then that's a problem.
Yeah. I assume she's wearing, like, lingerie still, because they just came from the place.
She was wearing a dress.
Oh. Maybe it's off.
Maybe.
And he definitely wears button-up shirts. He's the type.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so they're kissing, and it's really rough and needy and desperate, and, like, they take off their clothes, and then she, like, jumps and wraps her legs around him like he's a tree.
Fair.
Because that's what everyone does in books, and of course the men are strong enough to, like, lift her onto his penis and, like, move her up and down without any real issues.
Strong man, I guess. Just a strong man.
Yeah. So that's what they do. Like, they're having sex standing up. Like, no wall involved. And they just each want it, like, harder and faster. And, like, they just really want to go for it.
Yeah.
So, I guess he sets her down on a dresser. And they literally use the word dresser. And I'm thinking in my head, how tall is he?
He's not that tall. What is this?
But to put her on a dresser?
His penis is in his chest. I can't.
I'm assuming it's just the kind with the mirror.
Yeah, it must be like a wide, like a, yeah, you are correct.
A long one, not a tall one.
Yeah, but I did also think of a tall one. That's what comes to mind.
Yes, 100%. And then he sort of starts dirty talking to her, I'm gonna call it. Like, it's not, like, it's emotional dirty talk.
Fair.
And he says to, like, remember this in the future, remember how much she wants him, and essentially says to remember this when some other guy is fucking her, how that guy will never compare to him. Like, he's trying to... So, like, he's being... I don't know, like... I don't really get why he's doing it. I feel like he just wants to impress upon her in this moment that, like, you care for me, you want me like this, no one's ever going to compare to me. So...
It just feels toxic.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Like, I don't like when people are like, you're never going to find anyone better than me. Because, like, she might. And that's okay. I don't know. Like, I don't like it. I don't like that sentiment at all.
No. Anyway, so she tells him not to be cruel. And he reminds her that he is cruel, when we both know that he's not.
Yeah.
And that he also says, and I like the line. I don't like the sentiment behind it, but I like the line. He tells her that she has ruined him and he wants to return the favor. So, like, it's a real good line. I really enjoy it. I don't like that he's being sort of, like, grudgy and vengeful and being like, well, you're hurting me, so I'm going to hurt you back.
It's all in that toxic sphere of men that, like, I'm okay with it in books, but if this was real life, I would, like...
Yeah.
Immediately kick them out. Yeah.
Yeah. Get away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they both come. Because, still having sex, still super turned on.
Yeah.
And he then says, like, fuck, I'm sorry. And she says that she is not. So I guess she's not sorry for...
ruining him.
Yeah. And sorry for, like... their relationship, what they mean to each other, blah, blah.
How intense it is so fast.
Which we will never get over.
No. You can't make us.
No. So, switch to Hades' POV. So they're in bed. He can't sleep, obviously. Even though Persephone is cuddling into him. And he can't stop thinking about a future that he knows can't happen. Because he says that he knows that Demeter will never accept Persephone choosing a life in the lower city. And therefore, she will cause supply problems for, like, ever, he's thinking. Like, he thinks she's going to be that vengeful and keep the supply problems going for years. Hades knows that they can last a couple of years with what they have, but then what?
Yeah.
After those couple of years. And, like, I just feel like if your child is really happy, are you really going to be that vengeful for, like, over years?
But also, like, if she actually stops supplies... and they are still alive, then she's going to know something is going on. She's going to figure it out, that there's some other way that they're getting supplies. Like, she's not an idiot.
No, that's true. So Hades also thinks about Zeus and thinking that it's odd that they haven't heard from him yet. Mm-hmm. They really thought that he would have made some sort of a move by now. But as long as Persephone is with Hades, he doesn't think that Zeus will ever be content. Like, he's never going to stop. He's never going to rest as long as Persephone stays with Hades. Mm-hmm. So, like, this is what Hades is thinking. Therefore, he knows that there's no way Persephone can stay with him. Like, there's no chance that they have a future together.
Yeah, and this part actually makes more sense. Like, Zeus being an issue to their relationship makes a lot more sense. And I understand that. Because, like, yeah, he's not going to stand by while you stole, in quotes, because you can't steal a person, but while you stole...
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can, but it's called kidnapping.
Yeah. True. Yes. Yeah, but...
You can't steal someone who ran away from you.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I do think Zeus is an issue.
Yeah. You mean more so than the issue of her just...
Not like her mother being like, I don't want her to live in the lower city. You'd rather her fucking leave?
Yeah. Anyway, so he's like thinking all these thoughts and how they're doomed, their future is doomed, when all of a sudden Persephone's cell phone rings. It's Eurydice, the youngest sister. Formerly Eurydice.
Or whatever I said.
But we've since discovered that it's actually Eurydice. So she was supposed to meet Orpheus at a bar. And so I guess backtrack. Persephone answers the phone. I forgot to say that. Eurydice is the one calling her. She was supposed to meet her boyfriend Orpheus at a bar, and some rando dude got pushy because Orpheus hadn't showed up yet. So she left the bar, but it was in a strange part of town that she didn't really know. So now this guy is following her, and there are no cabs around. Mm-hmm. So this is like a very strong mirror to what happened to Persephone. Mm-hmm. Same sort of a deal. She was walking, trying to get away. Someone started following her, and she ended up having to cross the bridge. Luckily, Eurydice is also close to, I don't know if it's the bridge or a bridge.
I think there's 3 bridges,
Yeah, there are multiple bridges. So she's close to one of the bridges. So they said, head towards the bridge. We'll meet you there. And essentially say, like, when you get to the bridge, cross it. Cross the bridge.
Yeah.
So they get dressed super fast, and they get in a car with Chiron and a team to go to the bridge. I guess they're sort of maybe afraid that this is a trap, or this is some sort of a trick or something, and they just want to be prepared. Mm-hmm. In the car, because I guess it's like a 10-15 minute drive, Persephone tries calling Orpheus, the boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And you know how you can tell when somebody purposefully, like, ignores your call or, like, sends you to voicemail?
Yeah.
So he was doing that and ignoring her texts. So they get to the bridge where they told Eurydice to cross, and she isn't there yet. And they're concerned because she was closer than them, so she should have gotten there before they did. Mm-hmm. So Persephone is, like, screaming out her name and screaming for her, and all of a sudden, a dude yells out from the other side of the bridge, and he has her at knife point. Like, he's holding her front to back with, like, a knife at her throat. Which is, like, serious business. Like, they mean business here.
Yeah.
But this really escalated from, like, 0 to 100 in no time.
I completely agree. Was not expecting this.
No. So Persephone, like, obviously wants to run to her sister and help, which is dumb because what is she against a knife?
This whole thing pisses me off. Because, like you said earlier, they have a vehicle full of people to help. Why don't we get one of the security guys to go get her?
Well, I guess for the same reason that nobody should be going to get her. Technically, none of them are allowed.
No, but we can sacrifice a security guy, can't we?
I mean, I guess that depends. If you were Hades, you would say no.
Well, he does.
Yeah. So obviously Persephone wants to run to her. I feel like Hades should have given her the gun he definitely has in his pocket and then let her go over and shoot him.
Yeah.
She's allowed to cross the bridge.
Yeah. Although I feel like their thought process is there might be other people waiting nearby to snatch her if she runs across, which, like, I guess.
Yeah. Fine. Anyway, so she, like, makes the move to she lunges to go across the bridge, but Hades, like, grabs her and holds her. And he sort of knows that this could be Zeus's plan, and, like, knows that maybe there is someone there waiting to, like, grab her if she crosses, if she decides to cross. And, like, she is freaking out because she's like, my sister! Like, it's the baby of the family. Like, she feels responsible for her. She is the responsible one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of the 4 sisters. So, like, she is very protective, and she is mad. Like, she needs to go for her sister. She needs to save her. Hades essentially passes her off to, I think it's Chiron, and, like...
I think so.
And tells Chiron to, like, hold her, do not let her cross. So Hades decides he's going to take it upon himself to cross the bridge. And he crosses, and the guy essentially is like, dude, you're on the wrong side of the bridge. Like, if you touch me, you did. And, like, it's true. We've already sort of chatted about how, like, Hades is not allowed on that side. Like, that could start a war. The same reason Zeus is not allowed on his side. It would start a war of the 13.
I don't think that Zeus's people would actually kill her. Is that naive of me?
Yes.
But, like, I just really don't think that Zeus would okay that.
I think he would.
But then what? Like, if she's dead, that's just going to make Persephone hate him even more.
Yeah, but I think...
I don't see the logic in it. Like, I can see, like, yes, he's a terrible person. He would kill anybody, but I just don't see the logic in it moving forward. Like, Demeter's going to hate him, and then Persephone's going to hate him, and she's going to be his wife, he still thinks. And she's going to be Hera as well. So that's 2 people of the 13 who are going to have a personal vendetta against him for killing someone they love. It just seems unreasonable in my brain to do that.
At that point, I don't know. I feel like maybe he would be desperate and would be like, see what I can do to your family. Like, suck it up and marry me, or else I'll do it to another member. Like... Maybe. You know, and I also feel like public perception, they would just frame the other, like, the lower city.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I guess the other part of it is Zeus really thinks he's invincible. Yeah. Which he's obviously not, but I do think he believes he is, so that is a big part of it.
100%.
Okay, I've come around. I think it's a dumb idea.
I think it's an idea born of desperation. I don't understand, though, why he wants Persephone so much, especially now that she's, like, made her choice and has crossed and has shacked up with Hades. Like, I don't understand what's so special about her that Zeus wants her as much as he does. Yes. And also, like, what is Demeter... Like, I'm assuming they made a deal. Yes. So, like, what... It isn't just that Demeter's giving him Persephone. There has to be something else in it, I would think. But I just don't understand what could be. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Interesting times. Yes. Anyway, so I guess Hades realizes, like, that desperate times call for desperate measures, essentially. So he shoots the guy in the wrist to make him let go of Eurydice. And then he goes over and starts punching the guy. And he's so full of rage. He just keeps punching and punching and punching until Persephone, like, is watching all this from the other side. And she, like, yells out to him, like, Hades, 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 stop. So he does stop. So he doesn't kill the guy. But obviously this means war. So that means that Zeus technically now has the power and ability to start a war, Hades versus the rest of the 13, because Hades did cross and did get in a fight with one of Zeus's men. Um, but yeah, so I guess after he like leaves the guy unconscious, Eurydice is obviously still in shock from being held at knife point, and she can't walk. Like, she's so shocked. She's like broken.
I guess she ran.
She ran
from somewhere too. She might just be very tired.
Could be. So he has to carry her back across the bridge. He also knows that Zeus's men are watching. Like, he knows that there's no way for Zeus to not find out about this. Like, it's not as easy as, oh, well, this one guy saw and then I knocked him out. So, like, maybe he's lying or something like that. Like, he knows that Zeus has people watching his side of the bridge because Hades also has people that watch his side of the bridge to make sure there's no incursion. So he knows that, like, Zeus is going to find out about this. So he carries Eurydice back across the bridge. Apparently he was on Zeus's territory for, like, a grand total of 2 minutes. But obviously it doesn't matter. The damage is done. Once he crosses back over, he puts Eurydice in a van, tells Persephone to take her sister in the car and get back to the house. He's putting everybody on lockdown. And he puts puts her in charge and says, take them back to the house and put the house on a full lockdown. And he even says, like, if Hermes gets in, you're dead meat. Not actually, but like, he's like, God help you. God's help you if Hermes manages to get in. He's already in, like, strategy mode, so he, like, has a chat with Chiron about what Zeus is gonna do, like, how he is potentially going to attack. So he starts chatting with Chiron about possible strategies and possible, like, defensive maneuvers and what they can do to prepare for the war. But in his mind, in the front of his mind, is keeping Persephone safe at all costs. And I do like it. I feel like she should be included in the conversation, though. Like, I know, obviously, sending her back with her sister is the right move, because her sister obviously needs to be taken care of, right? Like,
But I feel like this is, like, a theme for both of them right now.
Yeah.
Like, if she was a part of this conversation, then maybe they would have had a conversation later, too.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Anyway, so like, Chiron is sort of like, dude, like, this war, like, is dangerous. Like, what are we gonna do? And Hades has to essentially say, like, listen, I'll get us through this. Like, this will not break us. So then he goes home to Persephone and Eurydice. Obviously, Eurydice is, like, still in shock. And he just goes and just sits in the same room as them while Persephone tries to, like, soothe her sister and take care of her. And he thinks in that moment that him crossing the bridge was worth it. And he would do, and I quote, fucking anything for Persephone.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess this is the big, like, that was sort of our big moment. We switch over to Persephone's point of view now. She's trying to, like, comfort her sister as she hears her sister's story. Apparently Orpheus wouldn't answer her calls either. Like, he asked her to meet him at this bar that she wasn't used to in a part of town she wasn't used to. And then when she got there, he didn't answer her calls and he was late. And obviously Persephone is so mad. And, like, she's mad at Orpheus, but, like, she knows that she should be mad at Zeus. Like, she knows that this was his idea.
Yeah.
Hades sort of suggests that she call the other two sisters to, like, clue them in and, like, make them aware that Eurydice is okay. And she sort of just tells him, like, she's also very upset that he risked that for her. Like, he risked essentially the entire lower city's safety just for her sister. And I sort of... She just says, like, I know the cost. I'm very grateful. Mm-hmm. But, like, I'm sort of the opinion of, oh, this is going to make me sound like a bitch, but I don't think it was worth it. For one person, they're going to put an entire city at risk of war?
Yeah, it was very short-sighted, and I agree. I thought it was like, why are you doing this? Especially since I guess he didn't care about Persephone when she was coming across, but, like, he didn't do shit for her the first time she was coming across.
No. So, yeah, I just think, and maybe it would be different if it was somebody that I knew that was at risk. You know what I mean? Like, if it was me in that position, I could say all day long that I don't know if I would make that choice and risk an entire population of people for one person. But if it was someone I loved, maybe I would. I don't know.
Yeah. There is the removal piece. So it's like someone you love, someone that they love.
Yeah.
And, like, I think it was also very quick, and, like, he knew if he didn't go over, she would force her way over, basically. So I think it was more of a, like, me or her situation as opposed to this one person versus everyone situation. Yeah. But still, it's something.
Anyway, so Hades oh my god, words. Hades sort of, like, tells her, like, after she says, you know, I really appreciate what you did for me. I know the cost. Like, I understand what this cost you. And he then says, like, whatever the cost is, I will pay it. And, you know, not taking the blame, but taking on the responsibility of the repercussions.
Mm-hmm. Which he kind of has to. And if you're, like, a good leader, I guess it's kind of necessary, but
yeah,
it's a bit of a shit show.
Yeah. So, she texts her sisters, and they check out Orpheus's social media. They were looking, and he made a post of him out partying, surrounded by 3 girls, and the picture that was posted was, the timestamp was around the same time that Persephone was trying to call him in the car on their way to the bridge. So it's obvious that he sold Eurydice out. But, like, I don't know how this is supposed to mirror the real story. Or I don't know if it's supposed to mirror the real story at all. So in the original myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, he was a musician, which was true.
Yeah.
Met her, they fell in love, they got married, and then she died very shortly after they married and went to the underworld. He was so in love with her, he followed her down there to try and convince Hades to let her go. And Hades actually said, okay, I'll let you go. I'll let her go back to the land of the living with you. However, she's going to walk 3 or 5 feet directly behind you, and you cannot look at her on your way out. Like, you cannot look back at her. And if you look back at her, she's got to stay. And so, like, he actually makes it, like, I think he's, like, just at the entrance. And, like, he has, like, a couple more steps to go. And he looks behind her to make sure she's there. And, of course, she ends up having to stay. So, like, I don't understand if, like, this version of Orpheus is supposed to mirror original Orpheus. Because, like, it doesn't seem to gel for me.
So the only thing I can think is, like, will there be a story later about them, of him trying to get her back or something?
I really hope not.
I know, but maybe it just doesn't mirror it at all. But the original story, it is Orpheus and whatever her name is that I
Yeah.
refuse to pronounce.
Eurydice.
Eurydice, thank you. It is them in the original story, yeah. That's weird. Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if, like, I just don't understand how they've created this guy who was willing to go to the underworld for his wife. And, like, yeah, he sort of failed her in the end, but, like, she was already dead.
Yeah.
And, like, he went to the underworld to bargain with Hades for her life. So, like, it doesn't feel like the only thing I could think of, and maybe I'm thinking too much into it, is that his, like, failure of looking behind him, they're just instead doing him being a cheating asshole. Like,
yeah. I don't really, yeah, I don't get it. I'm assuming that she's going to have a story later, though, because, like,
I hope so.
that's just, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes up in that somehow.
Yeah. Anyway, just interesting. Like, as I was reading it, it just didn't seem to gel with the original Orpheus.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh.
So, what?
Yes, the book coming out in 2024
is Eurydice.
Yes. Orpheus and Charon, however you say it.
Oh, Chiron.
Yeah, Chiron's name. Yeah. So I don't know if that is going to be a love triangle or a throuple or a... No idea, obviously.
I hope it's not a throuple. Like, I swear to God, if she takes him back, I'm going to body slam somebody.
Well, also, how can it be a love triangle if you're like, you're a piece of shit?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see.
We will see. Anyway, obviously the sisters are all outraged by Orpheus's behavior, and they want to kill him. And Zeus, too.
Yeah.
Eurydice sort of understands that Orpheus set her up, and she is very sad. But she tells Persephone, like, she also knows the cost that Hades paid. Like, she understands that him crossing the bridge was, like, a big deal. And Persephone's sort of trying to, like, smooth it over and be like, no, it's nothing for you to worry about. It's not a big deal. And she's like, come on, like, I'm not as innocent and naive as everyone thinks I am. And this is sort of Persephone's look at, like, her sisters are also wearing masks, like, the same way she was. She was wearing this, like, sunny mask. Her sister was also playing the, like, innocent, naive card, but she's actually a bit more calculating than Persephone even realized.
Mm-hmm.
So Persephone is, like, says that she's really happy that her sister is safe, but she's finally, and I think we said this last week, that, like, she's finally realizing that her leaving comes with the cost of her sisters, like, being responsible. And now she's sort of understanding that if she runs away in a couple of months, not only her sisters, but also Hades and the entire lower city are going to bear the consequences of her actions. And, like, essentially, she's understanding that she's been really selfish, like, wanting to get out. And while I agree, I also disagree. Like, I feel like she should be allowed to make a decision for herself. Like, I don't think her deciding, I want to leave, but that's selfish, so I guess I'll stay. Like, she's allowed to be selfish.
Yeah. She's allowed to want to leave. Yeah.
Yeah. And if she's allowed, if she wants to, like, go away and go to school somewhere else, she should be allowed to do that without feeling guilt.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, am I happy she's deciding not to leave? Of course. But that's specifically just for...
HEA.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, I'm going to get my happily ever after, and I like that. But I don't agree with this sentiment of, well, me leaving is being selfish and I can't be selfish. You can.
Yeah. Especially
you can absolutely be selfish.
Yeah, especially since her situation before was like, controlling. I don't know if I would call her mother, like, I kind of feel like she's emotionally abusive, but she's definitely controlling. Obviously, she's trying to control Persephone's life, and make her marry Zeus, who is clearly an abusive man himself. So she's escaping a bad situation. Like, I can't blame her for wanting to leave at all. Like, that's what you would want to do if you were in her situation. So, yeah.
Yeah. No good.
Exactly.
Anyway, she leaves the room for a second just to go get Eurydice some tea and a sleeping pill. But Hades is already at the door with it, which is nice.
It is nice.
Nice of him. She sort of asks him to hold her. So I'm like, what did they do with the tea and the sleeping pill for him to, like, where did he lay it?
He's got long arms.
Can you imagine trying to cuddle someone with a full cup of tea?
Yeah, that would be dangerous. You just pour it down their back.
Whoopsie.
Unintentional. Sorry.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Persephone essentially thinks, like, it's time for her to step up, and she's not going to let Hades bear the cost of this transgression alone. And that she's essentially done running. And a part of me is like, yes, he only did this for you. You should help with the responsibility. Like, you should share in it a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe that's unpopular opinion. But it's how I feel.
I agree.
So, we skip now back to Hades' POV. And Persephone sort of apologizes for bringing Hades so much trouble. But he tells her not to regret it for a second, because he doesn't. They're so in love after this month together.
It's true.
So he vows that if Zeus tries to use this to make her come back, he will kill him. So, like, Hades is not going to let her give herself up in exchange for a war. You know what I mean? Like, I guess Hades is thinking that he'll be like, you need to return her or else I'll start a war. Hades would rather start the war. So that's nice that he's not willing. Well, but at the same time, it's kind of like a dick move. Like, I'm going to let all my people suffer for you.
Yeah, it is intense for sure.
So, I guess Persephone tells it, like, he sort of knows already, but Persephone adds that, like, she should probably stay with her sister tonight, so no sexy times for them. So he goes to chat with Chiron and Andreas. So remember, Andreas is Chiron's uncle and sort of the former head of security for Hades. And we met him, I think, in week 1?
I think so. He was kind of like also father figure-y.
Yeah. But, like, I really thought he would play a more important role than he did.
Yeah.
When we first met him. Like, I thought he would come back up, but he doesn't.
Fair.
But Andreas is, like, pissed, essentially. And he's, like, drinking, and he's a little bit drunk. And he just thinks that Hades made a mistake. And that now Zeus is going to crush him. And he's like, he's going to crush you the same way that he crushed your dad. And I think this is sort of, Andreas is in his feels because I think him and Hades' dad, Hades, were like besties.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I think he's like really scared of losing Hades Jr.
Yeah.
But Hades is sort of like, no, man, like, my dad underestimated Zeus, like, never saw him coming, but, like, he's like, I'm not like that. Like, I anticipate him. I'm overly cautious. And I kind of agree. Like, you can't compare two people. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's drunk, so you can kind of give him a little bit more of a pass, but
yeah.
I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, well, you're going to get crushed. Ha ha. Like, come on, dude. Be a little optimistic. Anyway, so Andreas leaves. Like, drunk Andreas, like Chiron, I guess, helps him leave. And Hermes shows up. But she isn't smiling. So she's got an official message. But she's also pissed at him because he made a mistake. He broke the treaty. So because he broke the treaty, that has tied her hands. She doesn't really have an option to go to, like, sort of fight with him. She has to fight against him because that's what the treaty says. And she says, like, her and Dionysus both, they don't want to go to war with him. But again, he sort of made it so that they have to.
Yeah.
And he's sort of like, you know, like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to make that choice. And she's sort of like, but it's different in the upper city. And that, like, crossing Zeus is a higher price than most people can pay. So most people are just scared to cross Zeus. So she doesn't have the same... she's afraid, essentially, to cross Zeus and say no to Zeus. And I guess that's fear. That fear is higher than crossing your friend.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he tells her to relay the transmission or relay the message. And, of course, it's in Zeus's voice. And it tells him he has 13 hours, 1 hour for all the 13, to return both sisters, or else he will annihilate everyone under Hades' command, civilians included.
Like, you're a good guy, Zeus.
Like, why does he care about having both sisters?
Yeah, really, though. That is odd. He's the one that made her go over.
Yeah.
I guess he wants her back for Demeter's sake. They are working very closely together, but don't know.
Yeah. So his response, I guess Hermes asks, like, what is your response? And he says, my response is that Zeus will have his response in 13 hours. So, like, he's not gonna tell her or tell Zeus yes or no.
Yeah.
But apparently he does have a plan.
When do you get one of those?
I don't know. This is the thing. I would never be able to come up with a plan that quick.
No.
Like, I pride myself on being decently clever.
Yeah.
Like, I put myself in Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I'm just... all of these people that we read about are so smart. Like, they're so... how do they come up... like, this is why I'm terrible at chess. Like, they all think, like, 3-4 moves ahead. I'm just not that quick. I'm not there yet.
It's probably why we're not royals. The only reason, obviously.
Yeah.
So... sorry. Why... wait. We never get what his plan is, though.
I mean, we kind of do.
No.
Don't we?
No.
Oh, good.
So, like, I don't understand. Like, we don't get a response from him. We don't get his plan. He reacts to what happens.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have, like, a grand plan. He has a reaction because Persephone did something.
Yes.
Like, so I don't understand what this great plan is that he just ends up not doing anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, but this is what I mean. Like, again, I don't understand how people can think these grand strategic plans in, like, the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
I'm just not that clever, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Anyway, Hermes leaves. And we go to Persephone's POV. And she is in the room while Eurydice is in the shower. And all of a sudden, Hermes shows up in her room with a message for her. And it's also from Zeus. And he says he will crush the lower city. But if he comes back to her, he will reconsider. I just don't know what kind of ultimatum that is.
Yeah.
And again, I wish I knew what made her so special.
The only thing I can think is that, like, he publicly said it. He can't go back on it now. But I just don't understand why.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing I can think of now is the fact that, like, her and Hades have a thing together. So that makes Zeus want her even more.
Like, to take something away from Hades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah. So, anyway, Persephone thinks that Zeus obviously thinks that she's a fool because she knows that he's still going to attack even if she came back. Like,
yeah.
She is not that naive. Valid point.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want any casualties at all. She wants to avoid a war. So, she also has a plan. And she decides to send a message to her mother through Hermes. So she waits for a response. Like, I guess Hermes goes immediately. And while she's waiting for an answer from her mother, she thinks about how she has to protect Hades at all cost because she loves him. And he loves her. And they just need to talk about it.
They're both so in love.
So Hermes returns and tells her that her mother agreed to her deal. Like, she has a deal.
Yay.
So I guess Persephone wired off a deal to Demeter, and we don't know what it is yet. So she gets all dressed up in a snazzy dress, and I guess Eurydice sort of has an idea about what's going on, but not 100%. But she decides, she's like, I'm not going. I'm staying here. Because she needs time to heal. And I mean, valid point. You were just held at knife point, so I can see you needing a couple of days. So Persephone and Hermes sneak out of the house, and they use secret tunnels. So I'm assuming this is how Hermes keeps getting in, through secret tunnels.
Makes sense.
And they cross the bridge to Dionysus, who is waiting in a black sedan. And they take her to Dodonda Tower, which is Zeus's house? Business? All the above?
The only thing we get about it in the first week is that's where he has his party, and there's like a throne room, and there's pictures of everyone, and it's very high up. I wonder if, like, I feel like he has like a penthouse apartment above this level for partying that has his office, but I don't. That's my guess. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Anyway, she doesn't expect this bit. She thinks that they were supposed to take her to her mother at her mother's home. And she's like, "You're tricking me." And Hermes is like, "No, man, it's your fault. You didn't ask for more details. Like, you should have." And it's sort of that, like, you know, that whole, like, be careful what you wish for thing? Is it? Yeah. That's what this feels like. It's sort of like, you should have asked for more clarification. And I sort of think that's a little bit underhanded. Like, come on, Hermes.
Yes, 100%.
For claiming to be Hades' friend and being on his side, like, you could have. And, like, knowing all the information, like, knowing the deal and everything like that. Like, I feel like you could have told her a little bit more.
Yeah. I agree.
So, a bit underhanded of Hermes here. I don't know how I feel about her. I feel like I liked the Hermes character a lot more in A Touch of Darkness.
Yes, I will agree with that. I don't. Yeah, she's very tricky here.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, they drop her off at the tower, and she walks into the party. And she says it's like, it almost feels like she never left. Like, the party is the same, the people are the same, like, everyone is the same. It looks like nothing. It looks like she was never missing, even though she was gone for a month.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Zeus spots her from across the room and says, "Ah, my bride returns." Yeah. And I just feel like after this whole thing, do we really think he's going to marry her and, like, keep her alive?
Oh, definitely not keep her alive.
I feel like he's going to want to punish her a lot.
Yeah, it kind of comes up later when the big confrontation goes down. But the way he wants to punish her is more physically.
Ew.
Yeah. He definitely has always had a fascination? Fascination?
Yeah.
That's the right word, right?
That is, yeah, I think that's a word. Although, do you know what? When you were trying to say that, I was thinking fascinization. But I don't think that's a word.
That's what I started saying. That's not your fault. That's what was coming out of my mouth.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I think he must have had a fascination. No, he must have been obsessed with her for some reason, and it may be purely based on looks, but like, yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. Anyway, he goes and, like, he sort of puts his arms around her, like, sort of, you know, like, around her waist and, like, guiding her around the room. And, like, she said that it takes everything in her not to pull away, and that, like, she hates it, and she thinks that, like, she will kill him before she lets him take her to bed.
I'm fine with that.
I'm also fine with that. Like, you go, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
And he sort of talks to her like she's been a naughty child, and just with the age difference, this really grosses me out.
Yeah.
Like, he says, "Oh, you've been a bad girl." And it's not sexy, like...
like most of them when they're like, "You're a bad girl."
Well, yeah. Considering last night when I read that book about, like, my dad's best friend, and, like...
Yeah.
They're talking about, like, she calls him daddy, and... Yeah.
Yeah.
That book was something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she sort of tries to, like... I guess she wants to I can't say it's earn his trust, but he's like, "Oh, you've been a bad girl." And she says, "Oh, I think I can be forgiven for a lot of things with the proper penance." So she's sort of, like, saying, like, "You can punish me." And that turns Zeus on. Yeah. So he essentially tells her to go home and to wait for him. And I'm like, go to her house and wait for, like, is he going to defile her in her mother's home? Because she doesn't have her own house.
I feel like they need to get married before he can do anything, which it doesn't make any sense. But I feel like that is what his plan is going to be. I think he wants the marriage, and then he's going to actually punish her for it. But I feel like I kind of would have liked to see this play out. Like, obviously, I don't want her to have to marry Zeus, but I kind of would have liked to see her kill Zeus.
Yes, I agree. I think it would have been really fun for her to, like, go through not go through the marriage, but, like, I would have loved for her to, like, lure him to the bedroom and for him to be, like, ready to go, and then for her to be like, psych, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been, like, way to go, girl power.
Very satisfying.
Yeah.
Especially if he was being super predatory.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, so her mother, like, spots her then and sort of agrees to go home with her where they can speak alone and speak freely because there's too many people around. So they get home, and Demeter asks if both her and Eurydice are safe and unhurt. And that pisses Persephone off because she's sort of like, I was never in danger with Hades. Like, he would never hurt me.
Yeah.
And she was like, Zeus would hurt me. He wants to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's also like, so Hades is not the bad guy here. And Hades wouldn't hurt me. And he also wouldn't cut off supplies to the lower city in a fit of rage. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yes.
And Demeter is like, listen, I was just trying to protect my daughters, plural, when, I mean, it was really only the one.
Yeah. Although, I think she's like, she thinks that if Persephone's Hera, then her, like, they have more sway over the 13, and they have a better, her other sisters will probably marry well because she's Hera. I don't know. That whole shit.
Yeah, I get it. Anyway, so her saying, I was just trying to protect my daughters, really pisses Persephone off because she's like, you sold me to Zeus, knowing he is a wife killer, essentially. And Demeter's like, you are so stubborn. Like, you are the most stubborn person I know. Like, you weren't in any danger. And then she says you would have just had to suck it up and marry him and just deal with it for a little bit. And when Zeus let his guard down, Demeter said that she would have, quote unquote, taken care of it. And, like, I still don't understand. Like, if I knew somebody was dangerous, I would never sell my kids to that person, not even for a hot minute.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like, not even knowing. Like, I wouldn't want my child to marry and therefore have sex with someone 3 times their age who I know kills people that makes them unhappy. Like,
yeah, especially if you know your daughter is pretty headstrong.
Yeah.
Like, she's not the type that is going to just be like, yeah, I'll have sex with Zeus without having a conversation about, like, your plans that you're revealing now.
I guess. But, like, I guess part of the... I feel like part of the reason why she chose Persephone is because what she curated and how she made Persephone appear was the obedient, sunny, docile child.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe Demeter forgot that was not who she really is.
Maybe.
So she essentially said she wanted Persephone to become Hera. She was like, I did this so you could be Hera. And Persephone's like, I don't want to be Hera. And Demeter says, yeah, that, like, it's sort of a moot point. Like, my whole plan is like, gone.
Yeah.
And essentially she says Zeus is now a liability because he threatened 2 of her daughters. So Zeus has to go. And she says now she would rather deal with Zeus's heir. And I guess Persephone is like, what plan did I ruin by leaving? Like, what did I do? And she admits that the plan was for Persephone to marry Zeus, and then Demeter would poison him. Not so that he died, just to, like, take him out of commission so that he would be, like, comatose in a bed. So that she could stay Hera. Because if Zeus were to die, she would no longer be Hera, and instead Zeus's heir would be able to pick his own Hera.
Yeah, it's just like, if Zeus is comatose and unexpected to wake up, would you not just crown the next Zeus instead of, like, I guess they don't. I don't know. I guess we'll have to read some more books and see if that happens to anybody. But it just seems like you probably just would get the next Zeus and be like, you're basically going to rule now because...
But I guess even if they made him the de facto Zeus, I still don't think they would be able to take the Hera title.
Yeah, I guess so. Until he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So yeah, essentially that was the plan, to poison him so that he could not be dangerous to anyone anymore, and then Persephone would be Hera, have a lot of power, therefore Demeter would have power, and I say power, even more power than she currently has, and then I guess it would ensure a certain level of safety for the daughters. But like, again, that's still shacking Persephone up with Zeus for life, really.
Yeah.
Like, even if he's not dead, she's still married to a jackass. She still then cannot do what she wants to do. What if she found the love of her life and wanted to marry that person? Oh, sorry, you can't.
Right.
It's just short-sighted on Demeter's part, I feel. So, Demeter sort of knew that Persephone was planning on leaving Olympus. She was like, you think I don't know my own daughters? I know what you were planning. Mm-hmm. But Persephone essentially says that her deal is that she will stay in Olympus and make sure that Hades attends several events as appearances with Demeter and the sisters as a family. And Demeter says, well, I want 6 events, and I want to be able to choose those events. Because she knows that her being seen with Hades, especially since people didn't even realize Hades was around anymore, if he starts making public appearances next to Demeter, then that would, like, people would think that they are allies. Mm-hmm. So that would boost her overall reputation.
Yeah.
And I guess Persephone's sort of like trying to bargain and saying you should take this deal because she knows, like, she's like, Mom, you know that if there was a war, that would only benefit the generals, not the everyday people that essentially voted you into this office, into this position. And also, you're in charge of, like, shipping and supply lines, and obviously war would inhibit supply lines and hurt those bottom lines. And essentially, like, Demeter's like, well, I don't know, like, I don't think I could swing this with the rest of the 13. And Persephone's like, Mom, I know you've got half the 13 in your back pocket and they all owe you favors. So, like, you know, come on, you can do this. But Persephone also knows that if her mother takes this deal, there's no escape for her. But also, if she doesn't take the deal, then there'll be a war, and she'll never see Hades again. So, they both agree to the deal. Done. So, like, very smart, actually. I think Persephone's making a good decision here.
Yeah. I think it's the only thing she can really do. I do feel kind of bad that she was like, she's now has to stay there forever. My only question is, like, Demeter's like, I want 6 events. Is it like 6 events ever? 6 events a year? Like, I don't really understand. I would think she'd want more over the lifetime of their relationship, but I don't think we really get anything else on that. We jump over to Hades' point of view now, and he's just like, she's gone.
Aww.
And he watches the security feeds, and he sees that Persephone left with Hermes, and she's wearing a black dress, which is like a sign for him. But also, and I think more importantly, she left her sister. So I think that is like a big deal. Like, obviously she trusts him still if she's going to leave her sister with him. Because his big thing in his head now is that he's afraid that she hates him because he beat the shit out of that random guy who was trying to hurt her sister. And this is like a common theme with him for like the next few chapters. It gets a bit annoying in my opinion, but Hades finds a note in his bathroom from Persephone, and she tore a page out of a book to write this note, and I'm like, what kind of fucking monster are you?
Yeah.
So rude. I don't know why she couldn't just find a notepad.
Get a piece of paper.
Yeah. Like, he has an office with a fucking computer. I'm sure he has a printer and paper. Anyway, her note basically says that she made this mess, so she's going to fix it, and it's unforgivable of her to say it this way, but that she loves him, and she left to protect him, not, like, he's kind of realized, like, she left to protect him, and she's not gone to, like, protect herself or her sisters, so he kind of takes this very personally. Even though, like, she loves him, so obviously she's going to protect him. I don't know. He doesn't like the idea of people protecting him. But he checks the gossip sites, and there he sees her with Zeus, and Zeus has his arms around her, and her perfect fake smile is in place, and Hades is worried that Zeus is going to take her disobedience and any rage that he has for Hades out on Persephone, which, like, we kind of already talked about, and I 100% think that Zeus would do that. And Hades is worried that Persephone won't be able to survive it, which I think isn't really giving her a whole lot of credit, but also just tells you how bad Zeus probably is. So Hades then, like, basically sneaks out of his own house so that the staff don't realize and his, like, security don't notice. And he walks basically one block before Hermes and Dionysus show up in their car. And Hermes says that he's about to do something noble. And Hades responds that he wouldn't want them to get in the middle of it, because obviously they might act like they're his friends, but he thinks that they're on Zeus's side.
Well, I mean, she kind of insinuated that they would be.
Yeah, exactly. And
and she also kind of threw Persephone to the wolves just then, knowing how Hades feels about her. Like, I wouldn't trust Hermes as far as I could throw her.
Hades doesn't know that part, because he thinks that this was all part of Persephone's plan, because she basically said it was.
Which I understand, but at the same time, I don't think Persephone is going to keep that from him if they end up back, like, if and when they are back together. And I think that's really going to put a wrench in their friendship.
Yeah, no, definitely. I get why he says it. But he kind of, in his head, he's like, it comes out a bit sharper than he meant it to, and it kind of hurts his feelings because he actually did consider them friends. Hermes kind of counters that they knew the roles they were getting into when they agreed to them, but, like, Hades didn't. So, like, Hermes, yes, was somebody else beforehand. She took on the Hermes role, and then she became Hermes. Same with everybody else that's not a legacy, but, like, Hades was a child whose family died, and then he was thrust into the role of Hades, so it is very different. So he's a bit bitter about that too. Dionysus says that Hades is about to do something to save the love of his life, and he can't even really fault what they're saying, so he decides to get in the car with them. Hades is obviously annoyed that they helped Persephone leave, but Hermes says, like, she contracted her, and also that Hermes likes her, so she would have helped her anyway if Persephone had come to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hermes then tells him that Zeus just hates his father, and he's trying to get rid of the Hades position. And right now, apparently in Zeus's head, it's a son for a son for a son. And Hades asks what that means, and then he kind of thinks of Zeus's sons, and he has apparently two sons, Perseus, who he says is as bad as his father, and Hercules. Yeah. And Hercules, who, like, tried to fight against Zeus and ended up leaving Olympus. So he asks Hermes if Hercules is dead, because he knows that Perseus is fine, because he assumes that's what she meant by, like, a son for a son. But Hermes is like, yeah, he's really happy, last I heard. So Hades is just there like, what does that mean? What is this whole a son for a son for a son thing? And we never get the answer in this book.
I'm so confused already. Like, I don't understand what they mean.
We don't get an answer. The end.
I don't like it.
I know. I'm guessing there's just like supposed to be stuff that you want to come back to, so you read the other books to get more information on this couple as well, but I don't really get it. But anyway, I guess maybe Zeus had a brother who was killed by Hades' father, and then they killed...
Or a father? Son for a son for a son? Maybe? No. That would be a father for a son for a son.
Yeah. I don't know. So we don't know what that means, and we don't figure it out this week.
Great.
Yeah.
Love it. I love when they leave loose ends.
Yeah. But it's like so deliberately a loose end. Like, there's no way it's not on purpose. And I'm like, when are we going to get an answer? I just don't understand. Because he even kind of brings it up to Zeus for a second a little later, but we don't even get an answer then. So I just don't get it. Anyway, Hades shows up at Zeus's skyscraper, and Hermes says that she has a message from Demeter. And the message basically says that Hades has support from her, Hermes, Dionysus, Athena, and Poseidon. And he has to do what he has to do. And then Hermes gives him a gun. So, go kill Zeus is the message, basically. He's kind of shocked, but then he realizes, like, with those 5 people, he has the majority.
But he doesn't. There's 13 minus Hera. That's 12.
Yeah.
He has 5 plus himself. That's 6.
Yeah.
That's half. That is not a majority. I don't know what math he's doing in his head. 6 is half.
Yeah. I don't know what he's thinking. Did I miss somebody in the counting? Don't know. I can't imagine that I didn't write someone's name down, but it is a possibility.
I trust you.
That's maybe not smart. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but he's like, I guess he's like 6 of us, 5 of us, whatever it is. 6 of us is enough to like be fine. Who knows? But he also kind of thinks in his head that like this could be a trap. And then he's like, I guess it doesn't really matter if it is a trap because Persephone is in trouble, so he has to go ahead and kill Zeus.
Does he think she's there? Like being ravaged?
Well, in a second he does, but it's not.
Okay. Good. Also, can I just say, why didn't Hermes tell him this earlier?
He has like, the same thing. But
why is he waiting? Why is she waiting until they get to the tower before she says all this? This is stupid.
Well, I guess so that she can give him the gun and be like, go do it. Don't think about it.
I guess.
Because then he does think about it, and that's where issues ensue. I'm like, you could have just gone in and shot him. Everything would be over.
Yeah, that's true.
But he, even at this point, starts worrying that committing murder will make Persephone hate him. But he knows that at least she'll be safe with Zeus dead, and she'll actually be able to leave Olympus. So he obviously doesn't know about the deal she made with her mother, and he's like, if Zeus is dead, she can get out of here, everything will be fine. He goes in the back door of the skyscraper, and the hallways are all abandoned, and he kind of wonders if, like, Demeter did something to clear the way for him. Which would make sense, because you'd think that this skyscraper would have a lot more security.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, he also knows the layout, and, like, he kind of thinks to himself, when he was 21, he, like, planned a full-scale attack, and, like, had blueprints, and he had security cards, and he had it all planned out in his head. But he knew, like, obviously that would have broken the treaty, and he would have been punished for it. But now, where he has support from some of the 13, it's okay to break the treaty. He probably won't get He probably won't get in trouble, I'm guessing. So he goes to the service elevator, and he gets to the top floor, and he sees the statue room that Persephone told him about. And he says he wants to go over to take the sheet off of the Hades statue, but he knows it won't look like him, like it won't have his scars. And he kind of thinks back to like one of the times he was with Persephone, and she called his scars beautiful. And like he's really starting to believe that. So like she's having a profound impact on his life. He goes into Zeus's office, and this whole place is just like too extra. Like Zeus is clearly very in love with himself. But he goes into Zeus's office, and he hears like sex noises coming from the bathroom, and he immediately assumes it's Zeus and Persephone. And he's like, clearly it would be against her will, so he's filled with rage. So he kind of like looks around into the bathroom and realizes it's not Persephone, it's a woman who actually seems to be enjoying herself, so it's likely mutual. So he kind of like backs off and waits by the office door, so that like he can hide there until she leaves. He says that they finish quickly, and the woman leaves and doesn't see him. And Zeus...
They finished quickly. I can't imagine she had a fun time.
All right. Maybe he came towards the end of it. Like, he showed up towards the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Zeus goes to his desk, and that's when Hades comes out and, like, levels the gun at him. And all Hades can think is, like, Zeus looks so human in this moment. And all I can think during this entire interaction is how arrogant Zeus is. It's, like, so annoying. But Zeus brings up Hades' father.
But that's also him, right? Like,
is his... I know, but I'm like, you have a gun in your face and you still think you're not going to die?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You should maybe have a bit of fear in that moment. Also, you'd think he would have had a gun of his own in his desk. I would have. So Zeus brings up Hades' father, which obviously pisses him off, because this is his whole revenge point. And then he brings up Persephone, and how he didn't expect her to play those kinds of games, talking about her having sex in public and stuff. And obviously that doesn't go over well with Hades. In Hades' head, though, he's like trying to talk himself into pulling the trigger, and I'm yelling at him while reading this to pull the trigger.
Just pull it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, you have to. Like, what else are you gonna do here? You can't just walk out of this room. Like, this is all of your people too. But Zeus then kind of gets into his head and tells him he's just like his father, hesitating to pull the trigger. Which, what does that mean? Like, maybe his father tried to kill... Maybe Hades' father tried to kill this Zeus and maybe killed his brother as well. Like, I don't understand. Hades realizes that he should pull this trigger for Persephone and for himself and for Olympus, but he's worried that Persephone will hate him for murdering Zeus. And he thinks he might help himself for it too if he does actually kill him, which I guess is okay to hate yourself for. He also thinks, like, if he does pull the trigger, he's no better than Zeus. And Zeus...
Ugh, I know. Come on, dude.
Yeah, Zeus kind of says, like, he isn't any better than any of them. He did exactly what Zeus would have done. Like, he beat a man half to death, and then he threatened Zeus. So that kind of makes Hades, like, lower his gun. But Zeus says, like, you broke the treaty twice now, the second time being this situation, and he can't let that go. And Zeus says that, like, the 13 will go after Hades, but Hades knows that he does have some people on his side, which Zeus obviously doesn't know. And Hades kind of, like, throws it in his face and says, like, you shouldn't have gone after Demeter's daughters. And Hades then says, like, if she's willing to cut off half the food supplies to get Persephone back, what's she willing to do for a daughter that was stabbed? And Zeus didn't know that Demeter cut off the supplies to the lower city, which is interesting. Like, I kind of thought that that was a joint effort when I first read the book. But Zeus also knows that Demeter will never go after him. So Hades tells him to basically like call all of this off and they'll consider it even. But I don't see how he has the leverage here. But yeah, Zeus asks...
I mean, apart from the fact that he has a gun to the...
Yeah, but he already put the gun down. Like, it's already down by his side. I guess he could still pick it up and kill him. But, like, I don't really see where he has the leverage.
No. But, I mean, I guess he feels like... I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. He's trying to be a better man, and he just needs to not for right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I know, he should just shoot him. It's being annoying. Zeus asks him if he means, like, stop the war that's imminent or stop his marriage to Persephone, because he can't stop the marriage with Persephone because he, like, already made the bargain, the deal is done type of thing, and now that Hades has broken her in, he wants to enjoy her, which is just so gross.
Yeah. Oh, dear God. That is awful to say.
So gross. It does kind of trigger Hades. He says, like, she doesn't belong to Zeus. She belongs to herself. And Zeus says that that is his mistake. He could have had it all, but he backed down at the last second. Like, he could have really punished Zeus and hurt him by keeping everything that Zeus wanted, but he didn't, because he thinks that Persephone is entitled to her own life, I guess. So that makes him the bad guy. Anyway, Zeus lunges for Hades and he tries to grab the gun, and obviously grappling ensues, and Hades, like, pulls the trigger twice, but he misses, and he knows that, like, if Zeus gets the gun, then he's definitely dead. Zeus isn't going to hesitate. They lose the gun, and Zeus ends up punching him hard in the face, I guess, and Hades' eye is even swelling shut, and I'm like, how did this old man get so strong? But I know, like, it's part of the mythology. He's very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And Hades asks Zeus why he killed his father, and he doesn't really answer, but he does say it's a shame about his mother, though, which is just kind of like, that's rude.
I mean, I guess I guess, like, the point of the character is to make you really dislike them. So, like, I guess just, like, throwing all these, like, awful punches is it's a nasty thing to do, but, like, sort of what... You know, you don't want to like him. So, like, no. Of course he's gonna throw all the shade.
Yeah, and I also think, like, it is because there's something we don't know. Like, Zeus didn't just go in and kill Hades' parents because he wanted to. He killed his parents for a reason, and I guess he was only planning to kill Hades and possibly this Hades Jr. But we don't know that. I'm assuming it comes up later. We'll maybe never know. So they get closer to the window, and they're not really paying attention to where they are. And I guess one of Hades' earlier gunshots actually went through the window and, like, broke the window. I don't know why he doesn't have bulletproof glass, but that was a poor idea on his part. And then they kind of have a moment like the Lion King, like Zeus is winding up to punch Hades, and Hades tries to, like, grab Zeus, but he falls backwards. So it's a bit, like, opposite the Lion King-ish.
Yeah.
But it's still that kind of imagery is what I see. I don't know if that specific scene is based off, but like that's exactly how I envision it. Of like, except for Zeus is probably still like, I don't want your help, and just falls backwards because he's Zeus. Hades kind of knows that like nobody is going to believe that this is an accident, obviously, but like it actually was. But Demeter, like as he's leaving, he meets up with Demeter in the hallway, and she says she's there to clean up this mess. And she tells him she plans to collect payment later as per Persephone's deal. And she also tells him if he hurts Persephone's, she's going to rip his throat out and feed him to pigs. And he, of course, agrees with all of that. And he also, this is like constant in this chapter, but he knows Persephone's never going to look at him the same way since he killed Zeus. And he's also happy that now that Zeus is gone, she can leave now and be free.
I'm just happy he's dead. He was a piece of shit.
Oh, 100%. Hades is like walking home, and he kind of thinks he would like feel triumphant now that Zeus is dead, but he just feels nothing, which is kind of sad. So he goes home to his puppies, and he knows he can't reach out to Persephone, and he can't be as bad as Zeus is and like put her in a cage to keep her here. So he doesn't want to like talk to her, which I think is the wrong choice, but I'm not making his decisions for him, I guess.
No.
We jump over to Persephone's point of view, and she wakes up to the news of Zeus's death. And she is, I guess, watches the news or looks at the gossip site or whatever, or hears from somebody that they're saying he blew out the window in his tower and jumped to his death. And there's no evidence that anyone else was involved. So, like, her mother did a good job of covering it up.
I feel like Demeter has a secret job. Like, she's not just, like, I feel like she's, like, low-key, like, head of, like, the mafia or something. How does she know how to cover up deaths so well?
Yeah, it seems really intense. I'm like, she's something else. I guess Persephone's with her sisters, and her mother comes in to talk to them now and says that they all need to get ready for a press conference with the 13 to announce Zeus's death and to officially name Perseus the next Zeus. Persephone confronts her mother because they literally talked yesterday about how Zeus is like
not useful anymore.
Yeah. So her mother agrees, like, Zeus didn't jump out the window himself, but she says that she didn't do it, or she wouldn't have made it so public. Like, she already said she probably would have poisoned him or something. Like, she would have kept it inside the building. Then her mother tells her to get ready because a car is coming to deliver her to the lower city, and that she wants Hades to be at the conference this afternoon. So she's calling in one of her 6 appearances.
That's very quick.
It is. And she also says to bring her sister home, which is fair.
I mean, is it though? She should be allowed to go like, if she wants to hang out in Hades' house, she should be able to.
Yeah, but it was kind of like her mother said something like, bring your sister home. She should be able to, like, grieve with family over her relationship because I guess she just broke up with Orpheus. So,
well, I mean, he did let her leave her for essentially bait. So,
yeah, it wasn't great. So Persephone gets ready, and she says she dresses in black pants and a dark red shirt, and she puts on a dark red lipstick, and she thinks how, like, different this is from her sunny persona of before, which is fair. She's a different person now. Eurydice? Is that how you say it?
Yes. Yeah.
Eurydice? Okay. So
good job.
When she gets to Hades' house, Eurydice opens the door, which just seems...
It's weird.
Like not a security risk at all.
But also, like, she's been there 2 days and she's already comfortable enough answering the door.
Yeah. I don't know. But they hug, and Eurydice, like, agrees that she's ready to go home, but Persephone needs to talk to Hades first. So she goes into, I guess, the sitting room or whatever, and Hades is with the puppies. And when Persephone walks in, he's surprised she's back.
I don't understand that. Why? Why are you surprised?
He thinks that she's gonna hate him.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's something. So they kind of chat a tiny bit, and she notices that his face is bruised, and then it kind of clicks with her, and she knows that Hades is the one that, like, killed Zeus, basically. And he has a bit of a breakdown, and he tells her he's not sure if he killed Zeus on purpose or not, like if he was actually trying to help him get back in, or if he was like, push. Like, he obviously didn't push him, but which I think he should know. It was obviously an accident, because if it was going to be on purpose, he would have just shot him.
Yes.
So this whole issue is a bit of overkill.
Also, it's sort of ruining his bad boy thing for me to be like, oh, I think I killed someone.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, remember in Throne of Glass when Kael was like, oh my god, I killed that guy and he was trying to kill you.
Yes.
It's like, dude.
Yeah. Except for Hades is supposed to be a bad guy. Kael's just a little boy.
I know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ugh. It really does take away from him being a bad guy. Which I guess the whole point of this story is he's like the hero and everybody else is the bad guy, so that's disappointing.
I guess.
He's also like, if she has to stop liking him as a person because he killed someone, then that's fine. And Hades is like, sure, she's gonna leave him, but like,
why would she come back if the plan was to leave him? Like, dude,
it doesn't make any sense.
Chill.
Persephone also realizes, like, now she has to tell him the truth because she's not leaving.
Oh, what? I never saw that coming.
So she tells him she loves him, and she chooses him, and the lower city is her home. He says he loves her too, but he didn't want to trap her here by saying it before now.
Which we already talked about.
Yeah, which I kind of am fine with him waiting on, but still, you both love each other. Just fuck off.
I appreciate that about him.
Yeah. And then she like finally explains the deal she made with her mother, that they both need to make 6 appearances with her mother's choosing, and he's kind of like, is that all? And she's like, yeah, but it sends a message to be seen with her. You'll look like you're like
aligned.
Yeah. And he's like, she could have asked for anything and he would have agreed to it because he loves her so much.
Aww.
Which is sweet. So they kiss, and it's magical, and Persephone wants more, but Hades is like, no, we need to stop, or we're going to be late for the first of the 6 appearances your mom is forcing us to do. It's like, fair. Good point.
But I appreciate that he's being the responsible one.
Same, yeah.
But they also could have had a quickie, and I don't think it would have made that big of a difference.
Yeah, or in the car.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Who doesn't love a bit of car sex?
Exactly.
Although, if Eurydice is also in the car, it could be a bit awkward.
That's true. Oh, God. So Persephone uses some makeup to cover up Hades' face bruises, and he wears sunglasses and like a black-on-black suit, which I just love a black-on-black suit. They show up at the conference, and all of Persephone's sisters are like standing behind her mother to like show allegiance or like whatever. And Persephone is about to go over and join them, but Hades asks her to stay with him, so she obviously does. Poseidon is the one to declare Perseus as the new Zeus, and there are obviously reporters for gossip sites and shit there, and they're obsessed with Hades being there, and they pepper both Hades and Persephone with questions, but Persephone tells them they'll deliver an official statement tomorrow because today is to mourn the loss of Zeus, which is fair.
Yeah.
Even though Hades is the reason that Zeus is dead, but it's all you can do. Hades is super grateful for her help, and he kisses her passionately, right there in front of everybody, and then everybody takes pictures of it, and I'm like, I guess they have a public kink, so it's fine. Then he asks her to move in with him, and she agrees. Then we get an epilogue, and I don't like calling this an epilogue because it is 2 weeks later. I think it could have just been another chapter. I don't think we need an epilogue for 2 weeks, but that's what we get. Hades and Persephone are dressed and they're chatting outside the door to the playroom, and he's making sure that she's ready, and he thinks in his head that everything is planned out and they both know how this is going to go. There's no surprises for their first time, and it's all about Persephone enjoying this. So they walk into the playroom, and the lights are low and all the seats are full, and they walk up to the dais, and they're finally playing out their fantasy that they've talked about a few times, but I guess they're more comfortable with each other now. Well, Persephone's more comfortable. She's the one that's actually getting naked in front of people. Hades doesn't really take his clothes off, just whips his dick out. So he asks her if she's wearing any panties, and she responds that there's only one way to find out.
Love it. Well, I mean, he's obsessed with whether she wears panties or not.
It's true. He reminds her of her safe word, and kind of just to her, it's a bit of a whisper to her that nobody else can hear, because he wants to make sure that she feels safe, but she kind of is a bit impatient, and she asks him if he wants to know the best part of the dress, and then she unclasps it from behind her neck, and it falls to the floor, and she's just completely naked underneath. Well, not underneath, because it's on the floor. She's just completely naked there. He spins her for the audience to see her, and then has her sit in a chair with her legs wide open.
I would not be able to do that.
I don't think I would either. But
all of the people watching, and I'm just hello, world.
Yeah. I don't think it's for me, but
I can't. I can't.
It's for Persephone.
But no shame to those of you that
would want to do this, yeah. Yeah. So he tells her that everyone sees her as a golden princess that's fallen, and now as a dark goddess rising. And then he starts to finger her, and she's already super wet and ready.
Of course she is.
Yeah, she always is. He kisses her, and he kind of gets lost in it and forgets the audience, which I think is a bit much. How do you forget the audience? But then he makes her come, and I think he actually makes her come 3 times. I was a bit confused by the wording, and I didn't bother to reread it, which I probably should have. But yeah, so I think in total he makes her come 3 times before he says he's bending her over the chair and fucking her. And he gets her all set up, but before he actually goes ahead and does it, he asks if she's ready again. And she says, "My God, just fuck me already." And everybody in the room kind of chuckles at that because she's so impatient. So he starts to fuck her, and then he pulls her hair back so that she can see everybody, and he tells her that they're all greedy for whatever bits of her that they will allow them, and that they're all going to be chasing their pleasure to the memory of him fucking her, which is pretty hot. And then basically she just fucks him harder. No, he fucks her harder until she comes, and Hades doesn't, and he puts his dick away, and he throws her over his shoulder and says, "I hope you enjoy the show. It's over now." And when I was reading this, I was like, oh, he's just going to leave. But he doesn't. Someone from the audience says, "We did," and he thinks it sounds a bit like Hermes, which is kind of funny.
But also kind of awkward. How do you face your friends, like, if you know that they watched you fuck?
I guess if that's what you're into.
I guess.
Sure. Yeah. He then takes her to the throne, and he kind of mentions, like, he's been thinking about ordering another one for her, but she prefers sharing because she can have access to him. And she asks if he held off from coming so that she could fuck him on the throne. And he says yes. And she calls him insatiable. And he says, only for you. And then they exchange I love yous.
Yeah.
And she says, it's a good thing you're just as insatiable as I am, because I'm nowhere near done with you yet. And that's the end.
I love it.
Yeah.
But also, like, come on.
I love it when I'm reading it most of the time. Sometimes I do still roll my eyes. But when you're talking about it too, it also makes it a bit more like,
yeah. But, like, I wonder, did they leave her dress there up on the stage?
Yeah, she's naked.
Like, what about her dress? What if someone takes it?
I don't think he'll buy her a new one. He's rich.
I guess.
She's never going to wear that dress there again, so it doesn't matter. This is like celebrities. They only wear outfits once.
That's true. Is it bad that that's where my mind goes? Like, what about her dress?
That is pretty funny.
Anyway, I love this book. I really enjoy it. It's very, like, I don't know, like, it's good for the romance. It's good if you're a mythology fan. Even if you're not, it's still good. But I do like all the, like, the little drops of, like, the characters and
mythology,
stuff like that.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because the first time I read it, I remember being super pissed off at Persephone for, like, deciding to leave without talking to Hades. And, like, I got to that part of the book and I laid it down and I was like, fuck this book. I'm not going to keep reading it because I was annoyed. But then reading it this time, I was like, oh, it really isn't that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like, she actually did kind of, like, do the smart thing and get him support from her mother, which is the reason that he got away with killing him. So, like, if I had kept reading it, I would have been fine, but it was just funny to reread it and be like, oh, I didn't have to hate this moment as much as I did the first time. But yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, like, what do you think you prefer, Touch of Darkness or this? Or do you think they're just too different?
I think I prefer this to A Touch of Darkness. I do have a soft spot for the character of Hades in A Touch of Darkness because I think he is more villainous, even though it is turning out like he isn't, which is a bit annoying. But, like, he doesn't he'll kill people. He don't give a fuck. And I appreciate that. But I couldn't get behind the Persephone in that story, and I just like this Persephone a lot more.
Agreed. And yeah, I also think the writing is a little bit more concise in this story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
And, like, leaves us with less questions. Like, not that we don't have any questions remaining, but it tells, I feel like, a more complete story.
Yeah, I agree.
And I agree that I like this Persephone better than the other Persephone. I think the other Persephone was a little bit like, oh, come on, could you make any more wrong decisions?
Yeah, and I just didn't understand. I didn't root for the character as much. I didn't, like, her passion was baking, but we'd never see her bake. She had a best friend who she never talked to. And it just was like, I felt like she wasn't a full fleshed out character. She was just like a plot device.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, I guess that's gonna wrap it up for this week and for this month.
Woo-hoo.
So if you want to get in touch with us and share your thoughts on anything you heard in our episodes, or if you have any book suggestions for us, we need book suggestions. Mm-hmm. You can email us at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com. And be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Coffee and Co Read.
So next week we're doing a new book.
Yay!
Yeah, and it's one of Kristen's favorites.
It is.
A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. So we're doing the next one in the ACOTAR series. So we're starting with chapters 1 to 14. So make sure to follow along. And if you're enjoying our chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you find our content. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next page.